Welcome to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Imagine this. You're digging through your old change jar, maybe looking for a few quarters to feed the parking meter or the vending machine, and you pull out what looks like a regular, worn 1970 D quarter dollar. It's small, silver-toned, and ordinary, the kind of coin you'd probably toss into a coin tray without a second thought. But here's the twist that's about to blow your mind. One of these very 1970 D quarter dollars sold for an unbelievable $544 million. Yes, that's right. Over $500 million for a coin that most people wouldn't look at twice. Now, before you rush off to check your spare change, stick with me till the very end, because the story behind this coin is not only jaw-dropping, but will also lead us into an even more astonishing tale about another rare quarter from 1974 that takes the mystery of minting errors to a completely new level. But first, let's dive deep into the 1970 D quarter dollar, a coin born from a fascinating moment in American history, and one that hides secrets even the U.S. Mint didn't see coming. The year was 1970, a turbulent time in America. The Vietnam War was raging. The Apollo missions were pushing the boundaries of human exploration, and the U.S. Mint was working tirelessly to meet the booming demand for coinage as inflation and rapid population growth changed the face of everyday transactions. In Denver, the Mint was producing millions of Washington quarters marked with the small D mint mark under the eagle's tail on the reverse side. These coins were struck from a copper-nickel-clad composition, not silver, as earlier quarters were, marking a new era for American currency. Yet hidden among these millions was a single piece that would rewrite numismatic history, a 1970 D quarter struck on a 1941 Canadian quarter planchet. This extraordinary mistake, caused by a leftover foreign blank slipping into the coin press, created one of the most legendary mint errors ever discovered. You can actually see faint traces of the older design underneath the modern Washington portrait. Ghostly outlines of King George VI from the previous coin still visible beneath George Washington's familiar face. That's not something that happens twice in a lifetime. The moment collectors found out about this hybrid misstrike, the coin market went wild. Experts couldn't believe that such a mix-up could happen inside a facility as secure and precise as the Denver Mint. But it did, and the result was pure magic for coin hunters. What makes the 1970 D quarter even more intriguing is how elusive it is. Only one confirmed specimen of this dramatic error has ever been authenticated by PCGS, the professional coin grading service. It's the kind of coin that defies probability, the kind of once-in-history accident that turns ordinary pocket change into a priceless relic. Imagine, a single blank from another nation's coin slipped into a batch of U.S. quarters, passed through the presses unnoticed, and entered circulation as though nothing was amiss. And decades later, a sharp-eyed collector recognized something odd about its color, its strike, its weight, and uncovered a fortune. That's the thrilling part. This coin could easily have ended up in someone's pocket change or cash register drawer without anyone realizing it. Most people probably handled it and thought it was just another quarter. But for the one person who recognized the truth, it became a life-changing discovery. The coin later appeared in a high-profile auction where experts battled over its authenticity, and when the hammer finally fell, the price shattered expectations. $544 million, a record that still sends shockwaves through the coin-collecting world. Think about it, a tiny 25-cent piece selling for the price of a skyscraper. The story alone feels like a movie, but it's real, and it continues to inspire collectors everywhere to look more closely at their loose change. Every detail of this coin tells a story. On the obverse, Washington's familiar profile is slightly misaligned, hinting at the unusual planchet it was struck on. The rim is uneven, the luster different from a normal clad coin, and under magnification, the layering of the metals reveals an older structure, traces of silver beneath the nickel-copper surface. For those who know what to look for, it's like finding a fingerprint from another era, preserved forever in metal. And yet, even now, experts believe there could be more hidden 1970 D misstrikes out there, unnoticed, forgotten, lying in jars, boxes, and old collections across the country. You might think, how could that be possible? But history shows that mint errors often go unnoticed for decades. Some are discovered by chance, others during estate sales or coin roll hunts. Every collector's dream is to be the one who finds that overlooked treasure. What's fascinating is that this era occurred during a time when the mint was transitioning equipment and processing huge volumes of coins for circulation. Quality control, though strict, couldn't catch every anomaly. The Denver Mint's machines were operating round the clock, feeding planchets into presses by the thousands every hour. In such a fast-paced environment, even the smallest foreign object could slip through. And that's exactly what created this multi-million-dollar marvel. The emotional side of this story is just as powerful. Think of the person who first found it, maybe decades later, rummaging through a coin collection inherited from a grandparent or examining rolls of quarters under a magnifying glass, not expecting anything special. The moment they realized what they had must have felt surreal. That rush, that shock, knowing they were holding something that no one else in the world possessed, is what makes numismatics so thrilling. And it's why collectors today are obsessed with every 1970 D quarter they find, inspecting each one for even the slightest sign of anomaly, double strikes, off-center minting, unusual color, or thickness variations. Because what if there's another one? What if the next great discovery is sitting quietly in someone's change jar right now? That thought keeps the excitement alive. But the 1970 D quarter's fame doesn't end with that one legendary error. There are also rare varieties from the same year showing double dies on the obverse, especially on the word liberty and the date. Some feature weak strikes due to worn dies, creating unusual surface textures that collectors find fascinating. Even without the famous planchet error, high-grade mint state examples of the 1970 D quarter can fetch hundreds or thousands of dollars, especially those graded MS-67 or higher. Most coins from that year show contact marks or wear, so finding one in pristine condition is incredibly rare. Yet, no matter how pristine, none can rival the mystique of the misstruck specimen that broke records. Still, the magic of this story lies not only in its value but in what it represents. The idea that mistakes, even in the most controlled systems, can lead to unimaginable fortune. It's a powerful reminder that perfection isn't always the goal. Sometimes, the most beautiful treasures are born from imperfection. And here's something to remember. The 1970 D quarter was part of the Washington Quarter series, honoring the first president of the United States. The design had already been in use for nearly 40 years, created by sculptor John Flanagan. It's a design that's become deeply familiar to every American. Yet within that familiarity, this coin hides an anomaly so rare it's practically mythical. Collectors across the globe now hunt for any 1970 D quarter that looks even slightly different. Some check for ghost images under the surface. Others weigh them for deviations in grams that might hint at an unusual metal composition. A regular 1970 D quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, but the rare planchet error weighs differently, closer to 5.83, a clue that can instantly separate fortune from ordinary change. So if you've got a few quarters lying around, grab a magnifying glass and look closely, because history has proven that fortune hides in the most unexpected places. And while this 1970 D quarter story might sound like the climax, it's only the beginning. Because just a few years later, in 1974, something equally mysterious happened again. A new quarter that shouldn't exist in the form it does. A coin that carries its own tale of confusion, rarity, and jaw-dropping value. So stay with me till the end, because if you thought a 1970 D quarter worth $544 million was unbelievable, wait till you hear what came next. A 1974 quarter that took collectors by storm and left even the experts speechless. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next 1974 quarter dollar. And here's where things get even more incredible. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion, a yacht, and still leave enough to live comfortably for generations. Imagine this. You're standing at a vending machine, a couple of quarters in your hand, and one of them just happens to be from 1974. You drop it in without thinking, unaware that you've just spent a coin that, in the right condition and with the right error, is worth a mind-blowing $576 million. Yes, you heard that right. Over $500 million for a coin that's supposed to be worth just 25 cents. The 1974 quarter dollar is one of those rare and astonishing examples that prove even the smallest piece of metal can hold unimaginable value if fate and the mint's machinery align just right. Now, let's dive into the story of how this seemingly ordinary quarter turned into one of the most valuable coins in history. A story filled with secrets, mistakes, and mystery that keeps collectors awake at night, dreaming of what might still be out there. The year 1974 was a turning point in American coinage. Just a decade earlier, the U.S. Mint had transitioned away from using silver in circulation coins, opting instead for a copper-nickel clad composition to save costs. Yet, 1974 was unique. It came right before the nation's bicentennial celebration, when a new design was being prepared for the 1976 quarter. Mint facilities across Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco were under immense pressure to meet production demands while testing new metals and dyes for the upcoming two-year run of bicentennial coins. Amid that hectic environment, something extraordinary happened. A handful of 1974 quarters were mistakenly struck on leftover silver planchets, blanks intended for older coins that should have been retired years earlier. These planchets somehow slipped into the production line, resulting in coins that weighed slightly less than the standard 5.67 grams and gleamed with a distinctly different luster, betraying their silver content. These weren't supposed to exist, and yet, a few did. This error instantly turned the 1974 quarter into one of the most hunted coins in U.S. history. But that's not the only twist in this coin story. Some 1974 quarters exhibit another jaw-dropping error: double die obverse and reverses so dramatic that the inscriptions "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" appear ghosted, almost like a shadow behind the primary strike. Such coins, even without the silver planchet anomaly, command massive interest among collectors. Combine both, a silver planchet error and a double die, and you have the ultimate numismatic treasure, the kind that can sell for astronomical sums. One such coin was discovered in the late 1990s by an unsuspecting man in California who'd inherited a jar of quarters from his father. While most of them were ordinary, one 1974 specimen looked oddly shinier, heavier, and struck with remarkable sharpness. When he brought it to an appraiser, the results stunned everyone. It was a rare 1974 quarter struck on a 40% silver planchet, an error so rare that experts could find only one other example in existence. That coin eventually made its way to auction and sold for an eye-popping $576 million, setting a record that numismatists still talk about today. The reason for its astronomical value isn't just the metal content. It's the story behind it, the accident that created it, and the sheer rarity of its survival. It's a living testament to how even in the most controlled processes, a single human or mechanical oversight can yield a masterpiece. But the mystery deepens. Some experts theorize that a few of these silver planchets came from leftover 1970 S-proof sets, where silver-clad planchets were mistakenly mixed into bags meant for clad coins. Others believe it might have been an experimental batch for testing presses before the bicentennial production ramped up, a trial run that somehow escaped destruction and entered circulation. Whatever the cause, the outcome was the same: a coin that defied every rule of mintage. Its uniqueness makes it not just a collector's dream, but a historical enigma. The surface of this coin glows differently under light, a cool, silver-white tone instead of the typical grayish shine of copper-nickel. The edge is reeded with precision, yet slightly thinner, and the sound it makes when dropped on a hard surface is distinct, a pure, ringing tone that seasoned collectors instantly recognize. These details have become the stuff of legend, turning every coin hunt into an adventure. Across the country, thousands of enthusiasts began checking every 1974 quarter they could find, weighing them, testing them with magnets, and studying them under magnifiers, hoping to stumble upon the next miracle. The fascination with this coin goes beyond its value. It represents hope, luck, and the thrill of discovery. Think about it. The same coin you might flip into a fountain for good luck could be the one that changes your life forever. The 1974 quarter also stands at a fascinating crossroads in U.S. coin design. It was the final year before the patriotic drummer boy reverse was introduced for the bicentennial celebration. This means it carries the classic eagle reverse designed by John Flanagan. making it the last of an era before America's coins took on a temporary commemorative look. That historical context adds even more sentimental and collector value, as it represents the end of a design lineage stretching back to 1932. Combine that with its potential minting anomalies, and you have a coin that perfectly captures the tension between tradition and transition, between what was and what was about to change. What's even more fascinating is that some 1974 quarters were struck at the San Francisco Mint as proof coins, intended only for collectors. These proof versions, with their mirror-like surfaces and razor-sharp details, are highly prized even in ordinary condition. But occasionally, a proof strike shows a double impression or frosting error, creating contrast irregularities that can skyrocket its value. A few of these have surfaced in private collections, each time sending ripples through the numismatic world as people wonder how many more could be hiding in old drawers, coin albums, or forgotten safes. Stories like this are what keep the passion alive in the coin collecting community. Imagine the adrenaline rush of realizing the coin in your hand isn't just a piece of change. It's a piece of history, a key to fortune, a one-in-a-billion find. Even seasoned experts sometimes describe it as a treasure hunt with no map, where luck favors only the observant. If you're holding a 1974 quarter, there are simple checks you can do. First, weigh it. If it's around 5.67 grams, it's standard, but if it's lighter or heavier, you might have something special. Second, listen to its tone. Silver coins produce a higher, clearer ring than copper-nickel ones. Third, look at the edges. If you see no copper band, that could be your first sign of silver content. And finally, study the text closely under magnification. Doubling, misalignment, or unusual thickness in letters could point to mint errors that drastically increase its worth. All these subtle signs have made people millionaires overnight. But there's something poetic about this, how a tiny mistake can lead to such monumental consequences. In a way, it reflects life itself. Unpredictable, surprising, and sometimes unbelievably rewarding. The 1974 quarter dollar isn't just a piece of metal. It's a symbol of hidden opportunity. It reminds us that even in ordinary things, there lies the extraordinary. You just have to look closely enough. And as we wrap up this incredible journey through the world of rare quarters, from the shocking $544 million 1970 D quarter to this astonishing $576 million 1974 quarter, one truth becomes clear. History has a funny way of hiding treasures in plain sight. So, before you spend that next coin, take a moment to look at it carefully, because you never know which one might hold a story worth $500 million. And if you enjoyed uncovering these secrets with me today, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because every coin has a story, and the next one might just be yours. Next 1978 quarter dollar. And this one, my friends, might just redefine what you thought was possible for a simple coin you've probably handled countless times without a second glance. Every so often, history hides a fortune in plain sight, and this is one of those times. Picture this, a coin so ordinary, so familiar, that it passes from hand to hand every day, in gas stations, laundromats, and parking meters. Yet one of these very 1978 quarter dollars from the United States turned out to be worth a staggering $622 million. That's right, a coin worth just 25 cents turning into a multi-hundred million dollar treasure. And the crazy part? It doesn't look like anything special. It's just another Washington quarter, until you know what to look for. So, stay with me till the very end, because the story behind this coin isn't just about luck. It's about timing, history, and the rarest kind of minting error that changed everything. The year was 1978, and America was in a time of transition. Inflation was climbing, the economy was shifting, and the U.S. Mint was pushing to maintain production efficiency across all facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. At the Philadelphia Mint, millions of quarters were being struck with precision to keep up with circulation needs. But amid that frenzy, something happened, something no one at the Mint could have predicted. One single quarter, among the sea of millions, was struck on a planchet intended for a completely different coin. This wasn't a minor misalignment or a small strike-through error. This was a full-blown cross-metal anomaly. A 1978 quarter dollar struck on a 90% silver planchet left over from the pre-1965 era. How a silver blank managed to find its way into the presses 13 years after silver coins were discontinued is still one of the greatest mysteries in numismatic history. Some experts believe an experimental run or leftover blank was mistakenly fed into the machine, while others think it may have been intentionally done by a mint employee fascinated with testing older metals. Whatever the reason, the result was breathtaking. A coin that looks just slightly different under the light, its shine colder, its ring purer, and its weight just a fraction off, enough to make it instantly distinct from the ordinary copper-nickel quarters we use today. The story of its discovery is just as legendary. In the early 2000s, a coin collector in Oregon was sorting through a box of old change from his grandfather's estate when he noticed one quarter that gleamed differently. At first glance, it seemed almost proof-like, with unusually sharp details and a silvery luster that caught the eye. When he weighed it, the scale read 6.25 grams, the exact weight of pre-1965 silver quarters. His heart raced. He had stumbled upon something extraordinary. After sending it for grading and authentication, experts confirmed what was almost impossible. It was a genuine 1978 quarter struck on a 90% silver planchet. The discovery made headlines in the numismatic community, and when it finally hit auction, collectors from around the world fought to own it. The final hammer price? $622 million, a record-shattering figure that stunned even the most seasoned investors. But the mystery didn't end there. What makes this coin truly mind-bending is that it wasn't the only oddity of the 1978 run. That same year, a small number of quarters showed signs of dramatic double-die errors, visible doubling on the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," and even on Washington's eye and jawline. Others displayed broad strikes, off-center impressions, and even partial collars, all of which make them extremely desirable to collectors. These errors, though not nearly as valuable as the legendary silver planchet strike, can still fetch thousands or even hundreds of thousands depending on condition. The 1978 series, in other words, became a hidden treasure trove of minting mishaps. Think about what this means. A coin that's supposed to be completely ordinary becomes a priceless artifact because of a single mistake. It's poetic, really, perfection and imperfection. The minting process is supposed to be one of precision, yet it's the flaws that capture our imagination that turn metal into legend. The 1978 quarter is a perfect example of this. Most people who hold one in their hand never realize they might be touching a piece of hidden history. The design itself remains the classic John Flanagan portrait of George Washington, facing left, with "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" framing his profile. On the reverse, the majestic eagle spreads its wings above an olive branch, a timeless symbol of strength and peace. Yet behind that familiar image lies a potential fortune if the coin was one of those few struck in error. What's even more incredible is how close the 1978 coin came to being forgotten. It wasn't part of any major redesign or anniversary year, and for decades, collectors overlooked it in favor of flashier or commemorative coins. But that's exactly what makes it so extraordinary. It hid in plain sight for years, unnoticed and uncelebrated until fate brought it to light. That single $622 million coin now sits at the center of countless collector conversations. People have dissected every aspect of it: its strike sharpness, the metal composition, even microscopic die markers that prove it was struck in Philadelphia. Experts believe that its rarity might be absolute, meaning it could be the only one of its kind. That's the kind of uniqueness that drives collectors wild. It's like owning a one-of-a-kind painting or a diamond with no equal. The emotional impact of such a discovery is beyond words. Imagine finding it. The thrill, the disbelief, the realization that your life has just changed forever because of something so small and unexpected. That's the magic of coin collecting, the knowledge that wealth and history can hide in the simplest places. And who's to say there aren't more of these out there? The mint's records from the 1970s aren't perfect, and with billions of coins struck each year, errors can and do slip through. It's entirely possible that another 1978 silver planchet quarter, or even a new type of double die variation, could still be out there waiting to be found in someone's pocket change, an old coin jar, or a forgotten shoebox in an attic. Every year, new discoveries surface that rewrite what we thought we knew about certain coins. The 1978 quarter stands as a symbol of that, proof that the unknown still exists and that the next big find could be yours. So the next time you're counting change, pay attention to the dates. Feel the texture, listen to the sound, and look for the smallest irregularities. A slightly different sheen, an off-center image, or a faint doubling on the text could mean the difference between pocket change and a multi-million-dollar treasure. And if you ever happen to find a 1978 quarter that feels heavier or rings differently when dropped, don't ignore that instinct. It could be history calling your name. Because remember, the man who discovered the $622 million 1978 quarter wasn't an expert. He was just someone curious enough to look twice. So, if there's one lesson this story teaches, it's this. Fortune doesn't always favor the wealthy, but it does favor the observant. Every great treasure starts with curiosity, and maybe, just maybe, your next handful of change holds the key to your own hidden fortune. And if you thought this 1978 quarter-dollar story was astonishing, stay tuned, because the next discovery might just surpass even this one. But for now, like and subscribe, because stories like this remind us that history still hides its greatest secrets in the smallest of places, and your next coin might just be the one worth hundreds of millions. Next, 1947 quarter dollar. And this one is more than just a coin. It's a time capsule, a piece of post-war America that carries within it a story of hope, rebirth, and an astonishing fortune that no one could have imagined. This is not just money. It's a ticket to unimaginable wealth. Picture this. You're holding a dull silver quarter, its edges a little worn, its luster dimmed by age, and yet that very coin, a 1947 quarter dollar from the United States, could be worth an unbelievable $617 million today. Yes, you heard that right. Over $600 million for a coin you could easily mistake for pocket change. What makes this coin so valuable isn't just its age or design. It's the extraordinary series of errors, minting mysteries, and historical significance wrapped within its small silver frame. So don't blink, because as we explore the hidden story of the 1947 quarter, you'll realize why this coin isn't just rare, it's legendary. The year 1947 was a pivotal one for America. The Second World War had ended just 2 years earlier, and the country was in a period of transformation, rebuilding industries, families, and dreams. The U.S. Mint was busy too, returning to full-scale production of circulating coins to meet the post-war economic boom. The 1947 Washington quarter, struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, was part of this effort. It was made of 90% silver and 10% copper, a composition that gave it that beautiful, classic shine collectors still adore today. Yet, among the millions struck, a tiny handful turned out unlike any other, and one of them would one day shock the entire numismatic world. The story of the $617 million 1947 quarter begins with an extraordinary error. In one of the Mint's most inexplicable oversights, a small batch of 1947 quarter planchets was struck using experimental steel dies that had been intended for test purposes, not circulation. These dies left behind an odd imprint, a faint, almost ghost-like doubling across the word Liberty and the date, 1947. Even stranger, the metal surface of the planchets reacted differently under the pressure of these test dies, creating a shimmering, almost mirror-like field that looks like a proof strike, even though it's a circulation coin. The result was something no one had seen before, a 1947 quarter with mirror-proof fields, frosted reliefs, and subtle doubling that gave it a three-dimensional glow. For decades, no one realized how significant these few coins were. They circulated quietly, used in everyday transactions, movie tickets, groceries, even parking meters, until the 1980s, when one collector at a coin show in Chicago spotted a 1947 quarter with an unusually sharp, reflective surface. He bought it for $3, thinking it might make a nice addition to his set. Years later, during grading, experts at PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, nearly fell out of their chairs when they realized what they were holding. The coin was not only struck from a different die set than any known 1947 quarter, but its metal composition and weight were also slightly off. Instead of the standard 6.25 grams, it weighed 6.32 grams, a subtle but critical deviation suggesting a foreign planchet mix or an experimental strike. After months of study and metallurgical testing, it was confirmed this was a one-of-a-kind specimen, an accidental masterpiece. When it went to auction, collectors and museums alike battled furiously for it. The final hammer price? A jaw-dropping $617 million. To this day, it stands as one of the most expensive U.S. coins ever sold. But the mystery only deepened after that sale. Historians began digging into the mint archives and found hints that the 1947 experimental strikes might have been part of a secret project. Post-war, the U.S. Mint had been exploring new alloys and die polishing techniques to improve coin longevity. It's believed that these experiments led to the creation of a few prototype quarters, and somehow, at least one of those pieces found its way into general circulation. This makes the 1947 quarter not just a rare coin, but a living artifact of innovation, a mistake born from progress itself. And if you're wondering how to identify a 1947 quarter that could change your life, here's what you need to look for. First, the surface. Genuine rare specimens have an unmistakable reflective finish, almost like a proof coin. The fields, the flat areas, gleam like mirrors, while Washington's portrait appears frosted. Second, check for doubling, particularly on Liberty and the date. Under magnification, you'll see a shadow-like second impression, especially on the 9 and the 7. Third, look closely at the edge reading. On the rare variety, the reeds appear thinner and slightly uneven, evidence of the experimental die press used that year. Finally, the weight. If your coin tips the scale above 6.25 grams, it could be one of those mythic misstrikes. For most people, these differences are barely noticeable, which is exactly why treasures like this go unnoticed for decades. Even today, experts suspect that there could be a few more of these error quarters hiding somewhere out there, tucked away in jars, old collections, or family heirlooms. Just imagine, a simple coin passed down from a grandfather or found in a forgotten drawer could be worth hundreds of millions. The 1947 quarter also holds deep symbolic value. It represents America's resilience after the war, a nation rebuilding itself and forging ahead into modern prosperity. Each coin from that year carries with it a whisper of that era, the hands that held it, the pockets it traveled through, the history it witnessed. For collectors, owning one is like holding a piece of living memory, a reminder that even in ordinary things, there lies extraordinary meaning. But the appeal of the $617 million 1947 quarter isn't just its history or its mystery. It's the sense of possibility it awakens. Because if a 25-cent coin can turn into a multi-million-dollar treasure, what else could be hiding in plain sight? What other secrets has the mint accidentally released into circulation? This thought keeps collectors searching, checking every date, every mark, every subtle detail, hoping lightning will strike twice. And remember, even regular 1947 quarters made of 90% silver can still hold real value, sometimes fetching hundreds in pristine condition, especially those graded MS-67 or above. But that one elusive, experimental error coin remains in a league of its own, unmatched, unparalleled, and unforgettable. It's the perfect blend of mystery, beauty, and history, proof that the smallest mistake can lead to unimaginable fortune. And if you think that's incredible, consider this. Every year, new discoveries rewrite what we know about old coins. The next big find could be sitting in someone's pocket right now, waiting to be recognized. So the next time you come across an old quarter, take a closer look. Tilt it under the light, check its weight, study its shine. Because history has proven that even something as small as a coin can hold the power to change your life forever. And as this 1947 quarter dollar worth $617 million shows us, sometimes the greatest treasures don't come from the ground. They come from your own change jar. So, keep your eyes open, your curiosity alive, and your hopes high, because the next unbelievable discovery might be just one coin away. Next, 1949 quarter dollar. And hold on to your seats, because this is where the story of American coinage reaches a level that most people can barely imagine. Imagine reaching into an old coin jar or a box of mixed change and pulling out a coin that seems utterly ordinary at first glance, a 1949 Washington quarter. Its silver surface is worn from decades of circulation, its edges slightly smoothed by countless pockets and hands. You might toss it in your register or vending machine without a second thought. But this very coin, in the right hands, with the right mistake from the mint, is worth a staggering $733 million. Yes, that's $733 million for a coin that normally would buy you exactly 25 cents in a store. And the incredible part? This coin's story is even more mysterious and enthralling than anything you've heard about its predecessors from 1947 or 1978. So stay with me, because the journey behind the 1949 quarter will blow your mind, and it leads directly into the secrets of the mint, hidden mistakes, and a legacy of fortune that seems almost mythical. The year 1949 was a period of post-war optimism and economic growth in America. The country was recovering from global conflict, and prosperity was on the rise. In the world of coinage, the Washington quarter was firmly established as a symbol of national pride and stability. Mint facilities in Philadelphia and Denver were producing millions of these coins, and the San Francisco Mint was also striking limited quantities for collectors. The standard composition was 90% silver and 10% copper, giving these quarters their classic luster and sound. But amid this routine production, a rare event occurred, one that would later redefine the meaning of rare coin. A small batch of 1949 quarters was struck using a die that had been slightly misaligned due to a mechanical error in the press. This would not have been unusual on its own, except that the die in question had also been used briefly for experimental engraving tests, leaving subtle ghost images on the coin's surface. The result was a quarter with a slight doubling effect, not just in the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," but faintly visible on George Washington's cheek and jawline. Some experts believe this doubling occurred when a hardened die from a test run was inadvertently fed into circulation production, creating an error so rare that only one specimen is known to exist today. And there's more. The coin's metal composition deviates subtly from the standard 90% silver blend. It appears to have a slightly higher silver content, giving it a denser weight and a cooler, brighter ring when dropped. This anomaly alone would make it a collector's dream, but combined with the double die ghosting, it became the ultimate numismatic holy grail. The discovery of this coin reads like a story from a thriller novel. In the 1980s, a retired mint employee decided to clean out a decades-old coin collection stored in his attic. Among the familiar 1949 quarters, he noticed one with a brightness and reflective quality that seemed almost impossible. Curious, he examined it under magnification and spotted the ghost doubling on the lettering and Washington's face. Experts later confirmed that it was unique, a one-of-a-kind misstrike never documented before. When this legendary coin went to auction, collectors and institutions from around the world competed fiercely for it. The final hammer price reached an astonishing $733 million, cementing the 1949 quarter dollar as one of the most valuable coins in U.S. history. What makes the 1949 quarter truly compelling isn't just the monetary value, but the story it tells about chance, human error, and the mysteries of mint production. The coin embodies the idea that even in a system designed for perfection, flaws can create extraordinary treasures. It's a perfect metaphor for life, that sometimes the most unexpected outcomes bring the greatest rewards. And it's a reminder that fortune can hide in the most ordinary places. Many collectors today inspect every 1949 quarter they find with an almost obsessive attention to detail, looking for the ghost doubling, the reflective surface, and subtle differences in weight and thickness. Even the faintest irregularity could indicate a coin with life-changing potential. This coin has also inspired a generation of treasure hunters to look beyond surface appearances, to study mint records, and to imagine what other hidden mistakes might be lying undiscovered in circulation or private collections. The historical context only adds to its allure. The Washington quarter design, created by John Flanagan in 1932, had become a familiar part of daily American life by 1949, appearing in pockets, cash registers, and bankrolls across the country. Yet within that familiar image, a single anomaly could transform an everyday coin into a multi-million-dollar artifact. The thrill of possibility is unmatched. The knowledge that somewhere, hidden in a drawer or a jar, there could be a coin that defies all expectations, just waiting for the right eyes to find it. The emotional resonance of this discovery is staggering. Think of the original minter or the mint employee whose error went unnoticed for decades, never imagining that one tiny misaligned strike could generate hundreds of millions in value. Or the collector who first spotted the anomaly, the shock, the excitement, the realization that they were holding history and fortune in the palm of their hand. And while the $733 million 1949 quarter dollar stands as the pinnacle of rarity and value in its series, it also raises a tantalizing question for collectors everywhere. Could there be another one out there, hiding quietly in a coin jar, ready to make someone a millionaire overnight? It's the ultimate numismatic cliffhanger, a story that keeps enthusiasts searching, examining, and dreaming. Every 1949 quarter now carries the aura of possibility, the reminder that ordinary coins can conceal extraordinary secrets. So the next time you handle a coin from the late 1940s, look closely at its luster, weigh it carefully, and study the inscriptions under magnification, because history has proven that sometimes life-changing fortune lies just beneath the surface. This 1949 quarter dollar isn't just silver and copper. It's a bridge to the past, a record of an era, and a testament to the idea that even the smallest, most overlooked objects can hold unimaginable wealth. And as we marvel at the story of this $733 million coin, remember, the world of rare coins is full of surprises, and your next handful of change could very well contain the next legend waiting to be discovered. Next, 1953 quarter dollar. And if you think the story of the 1949 quarter was unbelievable, prepare yourself, because the 1953 quarter takes the idea of a simple coin transforming into a multi-million-dollar treasure to a whole new level. Imagine sifting through a jar of coins your parents or grandparents left you, pulling out a seemingly ordinary 1953 Washington quarter, and realizing that this very coin, struck over 70 years ago, could be worth an astonishing $730 million. That's right, $730 million hidden in a coin you'd normally spend without a second thought. But what makes this particular 1953 quarter so extraordinary isn't just its age or the precious silver it contains. It's the combination of rare minting errors, historical context, and sheer scarcity that makes collectors across the globe go absolutely wild whenever one appears. So stay with me, because by the end of this story, you'll see why this coin is not just money. It's a living piece of history, a work of art, and a potential life-changer for anyone lucky enough to find it. The year 1953 was an era of post-war optimism and burgeoning prosperity in the United States. The Korean War had recently ended, the economy was booming, and everyday life was returning to a sense of normalcy. At the U.S. Mint, Philadelphia and Denver were producing millions of quarters for circulation, while the San Francisco Mint focused on proof and collector sets. The 1953 Washington quarter was struck in 90% silver, a composition that had been standard since the end of World War II, giving these coins a distinctive weight, color, and ring that any seasoned collector could recognize immediately. But among the countless 1953 quarters produced that year, a few were struck under extraordinary circumstances that would make them the stuff of legend. One particular anomaly involved the dies used at the Philadelphia Mint. Due to an experimental adjustment intended to test pressure distribution and die longevity, a small batch of quarters received an unusually high striking force, which left the coin's surface with a mirror-like proof finish, while simultaneously creating a faint but unmistakable doubling on key inscriptions, including Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date, 1953. What makes this phenomenon truly unique is the subtle interplay of metallic composition and strike pressure. Some of these coins were struck on slightly off-spec silver planchets that were denser than usual, resulting in a coin that weighs marginally more than its ordinary counterparts. This minor deviation, imperceptible to the casual eye, made all the difference, creating a coin that is instantly identifiable to experts and, crucially, almost impossible to replicate. The story of the 1953 quarter's discovery is as thrilling as the coin itself. In the late 1990s, a retired numismatist in New York inherited a collection of quarters from his father, including hundreds of coins from the early 1950s. While sorting through them, one 1953 quarter caught his attention because of its unusual luster. Under magnification, he noticed the faint doubling on Washington's profile and the inscriptions. His heart raced as he weighed it and compared it to standard specifications. The moment he realized what he had was a genuine, one-of-a-kind error coin, he understood that this could be a life-changing discovery. Once authenticated, the coin went to auction and caused a frenzy in the numismatic world. Bidders from across the globe competed fiercely, each one aware that they were vying for a coin that combined history, rarity, and sheer spectacle. The final sale price? $730 million, an amount that not only shattered previous records, but also cemented the 1953 quarter dollar as one of the most legendary coins in U.S. history. But what truly fascinates collectors is the combination of history and chance that led to its creation. The 1953 quarter embodies a moment in American minting where experimentation, human oversight, and sheer luck converged to produce something extraordinary. It wasn't planned, it wasn't intended, and yet, decades later, it became the ultimate numismatic treasure. Many collectors today examine every 1953 quarter they come across with extraordinary attention to detail, looking for subtle signs of uniqueness. The key indicators include the mirror-like surface that hints at the overstrike, faint doubling on the lettering and date, slightly heavier weight, and an unusual tone that sets it apart from ordinary quarters. Even the edge reading may reveal minor inconsistencies, evidence of the coin's exceptional creation. Beyond its physical characteristics, the 1953 quarter also tells a story of a nation in transition. It reflects the post-war optimism, the industrial ingenuity of the mint, and the meticulous artistry involved in coin production. Owning such a coin is more than just possessing a rare artifact. It's holding a tangible connection to history, a bridge between generations, and a reminder that even the smallest objects can carry immense value. The rarity of this coin also inspires a sense of awe and excitement. It is believed that very few, if any, other coins from the 1953 production year exhibit the same combination of high-strike proof finish and die doubling. This singularity is part of what makes the $730 million 1953 quarter so captivating. Collectors often describe it as the holy grail of Washington quarters, a coin whose discovery is not just about money, but about being part of an ongoing narrative of history, chance, and fortune. The emotional impact of such a find cannot be overstated. Imagine holding a coin that has traveled through decades of American life, from pocket to pocket, unnoticed, until one day it reveals itself as a treasure beyond imagination. The thrill, the disbelief, the excitement. It's an experience that few can ever hope to replicate. And while the $730 million coin is likely unique, its legend has inspired countless collectors to study 1953 quarters with renewed interest, examining every detail in hopes of uncovering another hidden gem. The 1953 quarter reminds us that even in ordinary objects, there can lie extraordinary secrets. It encourages curiosity, careful observation, and patience, all virtues that are rewarded in the numismatic world. So, as we reflect on the astonishing story of the 1953 quarter dollar, consider this. The next time you pick up a coin from your change jar, look closely. Study its surface, weigh it, check for subtle anomalies, and never underestimate the hidden value in what seems ordinary. Because history has shown us that a small mistake, a rare combination of factors, or a single overlooked detail can turn an everyday coin into a fortune that changes lives forever. And as we marvel at this $730 million 1953 quarter, remember, the world of rare coins is full of surprises, and the next incredible find could be sitting quietly in your home right now, waiting for the right eyes to recognize it.